Wow, Derek, we got some people coming on board right now. You can see these numbers going up.
That's great.
We'll give them a couple of seconds to log in. Wow, they're going up. They're still going up. We're 140, we're still going up. So, well, I think we're good. So, well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for an informative and exciting Norwegian Cruise Line's webinar. My name is Dean Lapham. I'm the Senior Director of Professional Development and Trade here at CLIA, and I'm going to just quickly go through some housekeeping before introducing our presenter. The webinar will run for about 40 to 45 minutes with time for questions at the end. But please feel free to type your questions into the questions module of the webinar, and we will get to them at the conclusion of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on CLIA's YouTube channel, CLIA Global. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Derek Lloyd, to present Unlock the Value of Cruising with NCL. Derek has been in the cruise industry since 1995 and has held various roles in multiple cruise lines over the years, first starting out with Norwegian Cruise in 2001 as a business development manager for Western Canada. Derek rejoined in 2006 as the National and Key Account Manager, where he was eventually appointed Director of Business Development, overseeing at various times the Canadian as well as Western and Northeast US markets. This gave him the opportunity to be involved in all sales and business development functions in these regions, including contract negotiation, tour operator, and account management, as well as customer relationship development. He is now the Vice President, Agency Sales for North America, with responsibility for the entire field-based sales organization. Take it away, Derek.
All right, well, thank you very much, Dean. I appreciate the introduction. Hi, everybody. Hopefully this is not your first time tuning into one of these. As many of you know, I'm based in Toronto, right in the middle of, right in between two storms. So I'm just really, really happy I don't have to go outside today. So we're going to talk about a few different things in our webinar today. So first off, I want to talk about some of the upcoming industry trends, and we pay very close attention to what's going on in the consumer mindset, because we want to make sure that we're delivering the product that people are demanding today. We're also going to look about how that ties in with specifically Norwegian and positioning the value of Norwegian with your customers. I'm going to talk about a couple sailings that really make me excited, some of the new stuff that we're doing, and I want to sort of give you a little bit of inspiration. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the latest updates, as well as some of the resources that we have available. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to turn my camera off so you can see the full screen, but rest assured it's still me. And I will be back towards the end of the webinar for any questions that you may have. If you do have questions, type them in. I've got a couple of my colleagues, both Amanda and Michelle, are ready to answer any questions that you have. As well, if we see things that are coming up over and over, I'll be talking about them towards the end of the webinar. So again, please feel free throughout the webinar to toss those questions into the box. So first off, let me talk to you about some of the industry trends that we're seeing. There we go. So it's really important when we look at travel, because travel has evolved over the years. Look at what the current generation is looking at for travel, what their parents looked at, what our parents looked at beyond that. Every single generation is looking for something different. And when we look at it, we're continuing to see pent-up demand. We all know that there was that 2-year pause where many of us could not travel, or at least our travel was significantly limited. And so there was this built up demand. People are looking at much more, they're looking at different types of trips these days. Some of the traditional things that we always thought of, in particular about seasonality, is really no longer applicable. And it's really important to understand that, because where, previously, for example, Alaska, you would think, okay, well, Alaska, the season for Alaska is July and August. That's not the case anymore. I actually was fortunate enough to do an Alaska cruise in April of last year, which is practically unheard of. But I'll tell you, there was some real advantages to going actually that early in the season. You very much felt like you were in Alaska. The ice was beautiful, and so again, we need to look at things a little bit differently. Obviously, with all of the cruises that we sell, or certainly for a great proportion of them, people have to get there. They can't necessarily just drive. So we need to look at what the environment is in terms of flights. So flight searches, we are still seeing continued interest in people flying to destinations. And that's despite the fact that airfare has actually gone up. We are actually seeing that the volume for flights is still increasing, and that's a really important thing, especially when I talk about one of our promotions with our second guest flying for free. Another really important thing, and this has been very critical for us in terms of our itinerary deployment, our itinerary development. People are looking for different types of trips. So whereas before, for somebody going over from North America, a 7-day European trip might have been completely normal and completely something that we would see often, we're seeing now, and maybe this is related to the fact that air prices have gone up. When people are traveling, they're tending to go for a little bit longer. They're also going more frequently. And so again, this is one of those things that you want to make sure you pay attention to with your clients, that it's no longer just maybe that once a year type of trip. So you need to be in touch with them more often, more frequently. Make sure that you're talking to them about all of their potential trips. One of the things that we did see over the last few years is the rise of the all-inclusive resorts. And there was a number of different reasons for it. The all-inclusive resorts are absolutely, fantastic for what they are. But I want to talk to you a little bit about how do you position and how do you compare cruise to all-inclusive. And I know that prior we were doing this all of the time, but I think that we got a little bit out of practice, or at least maybe we need to re-emphasize this to our mutual clients. So when you're talking about all-inclusive versus cruise, there's really sort of 4 main categories that we want to emphasize. So one is the variety of destinations. If you're going away for a week or 9 days or 10 days, with a cruise, obviously, you are going to multiple destinations. You can go to 4 or 5 or 6 different destinations within that 1 week period. And the huge advantage to this, of course, is that you're only unpacking once and you're waking up in a brand new destination every single day. And the fact is, these days, we are going to almost 400 destinations worldwide. We are cruising to all 7 continents. And that's really important. If you've got a client that's looking to do a bucket list trip, I'll bet you we have an itinerary that goes there. Tied in with that is, quite frankly, the variety of our ship sizes these days, where we've got what we would call our smaller ships, the Spirit, the Sun, the Jewel class ships at around 2,000 passengers. We've got the Breakaway class at about 4,000. And of course, with the Prima, we're almost right there in the middle at about 3,300 passengers. That gives us a lot of variety and a lot of options in terms of the destinations that we can go to. And we've also really looked at our itineraries very specifically from the perspective of how much time can we have in port. Obviously, people are loving all of the time on board the ship, but we know that it's about where we sail to. It's the destinations we go that people use when they're determining what cruise they want to sail on. So now, how do you talk to your clients about what they want to cruise? So first off, I'm going to really compare this to a land-based resort. And please don't get me wrong. The land-based resorts, the all-inclusives, are an absolutely fantastic trip, but we know that there are limitations. So first off, you're looking at a singular destination. If you're going to Cancun for a week, you're in Cancun for a week. You're at the same beach for that entire week. The number of activities and places that you can see are limited by the fact that you're tied to that singular destination. The rooms are another example, and I love the image that we've used in this with these lovely curtains. The rooms typically are going to be allocated by the hotel when your guests arrive. Compare that to the cruise, where you're actually able to pre-select your room before you even get on the voyage. And of course, let's not forget about the drinks. So I'm typically a wine drinker. A lot of times when you go to these all-inclusives, you have a choice. You have a great choice of wine. It's either red or white. the fact is you don't typically get a choice of different types of varietals or different vineyards or wines from all over the world. You're looking at, unfortunately, again, a fairly limited choice unless you're going with a super high end, but most of them, you do have those types of limitations. And then same thing with the activities. Obviously, each resort can be different, but when you're looking at most all-inclusive resorts, you've got fairly limited resort activities and somewhat limited resort entertainment as well. So now let's compare that to going on a cruise, obviously with NCL. As I mentioned before, we're going to almost 400 destinations. So if you want to talk about being able to see a variety of places, of not being on the same beach every day, that's where 400 destinations come in. I'll tell you, I was on a cruise over Christmas in the Caribbean, just wanted to get away from the snow. We were on a different beach virtually every single day. And having that variety and that option is just, you just can't beat it. And then when we get to, I mentioned the drinks part of it, look at the free at sea. So we've got with free at sea, we've got the unlimited open bar, we've got the specialty dining. So, and again, not limited. So if you want a Grey Goose martini, you can have a Grey Goose martini. If you want to have a Patron tequila, you can have that. We've got a half dozen reds and whites to choose from if you're feeling like a Sauvignon Blanc versus a Chardonnay versus a Rosé, etc. Again, you've got way, way, way more variety. And then, of course, the stateroom options. So where you're looking, I believe this is a balcony stateroom from the Prima. You've got all sorts of different options on board the ships. Everything from our solo staterooms, and as you all know, we've got single staterooms, solo staterooms, every ship from the Epic onwards, to the Haven. The Haven, where we have a ship within a ship, and you've got rooms that are 1,000 square feet. And then the last thing to mention in terms of the comparative is in terms of the onboard activity. So where you've got ships like the Breakaway, where we've got the Getaway, where we've got things like ropes climbing courses, where we've got the Bliss, the Encore, the Joy, and now the Prima that has the racetrack on board. You've got a ton of different entertainment options, entertainment activities on board. So again, if you compare the two, while yes, certainly an all-inclusive, a land-based resort can be a fabulous vacation, I think that the advantage with cruise is it gives you everything that those land-based resorts can give, but gives even more. So in particular, for people that want the variety, that want to be able to have the choices, want to be able to have the options of what to do on a day-to-day basis, that's really where a cruise delivers way more value. Now, let me talk about specifically what that means for Norwegian. Now, this is our mission statement. With Norwegian, we are providing an exceptional vacation experience delivered by passionate team members committed to world-class hospitality and innovation. And that is in everything that we do. So if we look at our guest-first philosophy, our guest-first philosophy basically puts the guest at the heart of every decision that we make. We are constantly looking at what is it that our guests, that your clients, that our mutual clients are looking for on their vacation. So we are, as for any of you who have sailed on our ships recently, we are constantly raising the bar. The fact that we, as I mentioned, are going to almost 400 destinations gives options all around the world, whether you're looking at the empty nesters looking to do that bucket list 21-day trip, or the young family that wants to just get away, do 7 days in the Caribbean, we've got something for them. In terms of these ships, as I mentioned, right now we've got 18 ships. By the end of this year, we're going to have 19 ships. So that includes the Viva, which is the next in our Prima class, where we've got ships coming out from this year all the way through into 2028. We've got an extremely young fleet. And that's really important because the young fleet means that all of the bells and whistles and features and attractions that your customers hear about that are advertised, that they get excited about, things like, as I said, that racetrack, for example, those are on a huge number of our ships. And of course, I mentioned the staterooms. We've got a massive variety of staterooms. In terms of food and beverage, now this is something that is, again, significantly a big part of our Free at Sea program. So we've got throughout all of our ships a huge number of complimentary restaurants, as well as specialty dining options, as well as I mentioned, the Free at Sea. In terms of entertainment, we've got Broadway shows on board, and then a variety beyond that. We've gone beyond the old style one show per night, and it's sort of the same thing over and over. What we did with dining, we did somewhat with the entertainment. So you've got multiple options on board the ships in terms of entertainment throughout various bars and lounges and comedy clubs, etc. And then, of course, as I mentioned, all of the activities. And then finally, in terms of destinations, I talked about the almost 400 destinations that we go to throughout the world, but as well, we've got 2 great private destinations. So Great Stirrup Cay, that's our private island in the Caribbean. We are the first cruise line ever to develop our own private island. And Harvest Caye in Belize, another private island style resort experience, so that we can offer that experience no matter whether your clients are choosing a sailing to the Eastern or to the Western Caribbean. Now, it's all about value when you're talking about Norwegian, and there's this concept of market to fill I want to talk about. As we came through the last couple of years, and as we're rebuilding, it was obviously we need to make sure that we're filling our ships, that we're getting clients on board. But one of the things that we really were focused on was we did not want to discount to fill the ships. None of us want to be selling $199 cruises. You don't make commission off of it. It's not great for us. And so our whole philosophy is, rather than discounting to fill, we want to market to fill, and we want to add value. And that's where Free at Sea really comes in. So with Free at Sea, Free at Sea includes all of these different elements. And so we've got, I'll talk about the airfare in one second. So we've got the second guest free on air. We've got the free unlimited open bar. We've got the included specialty dining. We include shore excursions, Wi-Fi, and on select sailings, 3rd and 4th guests. So again, adding more value versus simply discounting the price. And why this is good for you as our travel partner is all of these things that we're adding value means we can keep the price up higher. If we can keep the price up higher, you're going to be making more commission. Now, let me talk about our free air program. This, as I mentioned before, air is extremely important, especially for those of us that don't live in home port cities. So there's some massive benefits to our free airfare for the second guest. So of course, there's simply the convenience, the one-stop shop. You call us, we can make arrangements from your client's home city and actually offer them a great deal on the air for that second guest. So literally, the second guest flies for free. We've got a variety of airlines and gateways, so it really gives them a lot of choice and flexibility. If they want to do pre or post, if they want to do both, etc., we can accommodate most of those requests. The one thing I would want to make sure you do is check out the program details. The website is listed on the page there, but check out the program details just so that you're fully familiar with all of our air standards. It works great for the vast majority of people. However, I would just say, if you similarly how you would never sell a client who's really particular on cabin location a guarantee, you want to make sure that you're selling the air to your clients in the right way. If somebody really is particular about the airline that they're on, or the routing that they're on, or their schedule, etc., this might not necessarily be your first choice. It can save them a ton of money, but make sure your clients understand that the airline, the schedule, etc., it would be up to us, and they don't necessarily get a choice in that. Same thing if they're traveling with a family group, if they're traveling with other people, and being on the same flights is important to them. Again, you might want to price out the comparative of doing flights on their own versus our fantastic second guest flies free program. So again, just want to be upfront and clear on that. Now, talking about some of the onboard things that we're offering, in particular around the Free at Sea program. So the complimentary dining, I mentioned we've got on all of our ships. We've got all of our main dining rooms, the buffets, 24-hour restaurant, all complimentary. Where we really shine, not that the complimentary doesn't shine, where we really shine is our specialty restaurants. We have the best specialty restaurants at sea. And I'll tell you, and I love the fact that our the people that put these presentations together put these phenomenal photos in at lunchtime, or at least it is for me anyway. So some of our fantastic offerings, Q Smokehouse. How many other times when somebody's on vacation do they actually get a chance for real authentic barbecue? The sushi that we do on board, the Japanese restaurants are out of this world. It's one of my favorite foods. I'll tell you, looking at this photo right now makes me hungry. And of course, Onda is another fantastic option as well. In terms of the open bar, as I mentioned, you know, one of the advantages is we actually have multiple options in terms of choices, the cocktails that people are looking for. You're looking at premium cocktails that's included as part of our unlimited bar program. Our Free at Sea also, of course, includes unlimited soft drinks, juices, basically anything up to $15 USD is included as part of our Free at Sea. And if somebody wants to treat themselves with something above that, you only pay the differential. And you know, we're really paying attention to the environment and sustainability these days, even down to the drinks. So we're actually doing a number of programs on board our ships where we're doing sustainably sourcing, where we're actually making ingredients with things like pineapple rinds, coffee grounds, orange peel. It sounds funny, but once you try it on board, for any of you who've been on the Prima, it is outstanding. Now, in terms of what are we doing for you, it's a number of different things. As hopefully you're all aware, because you hopefully all signed up for it, we're offering commissions on NCS. So no other major contemporary cruise line does this. So that NCF portion that literally stands for non-commissionable fares, we are now making commissionable. So you're seeing your what you can earn by selling a Norwegian cruise go up by 30 to 40%. It is a significant commitment to our travel industry partners to make sure that we're compensating you for the efforts that you're putting into selling our cruises, and we absolutely appreciate it. As I mentioned before, with our market to fill strategy, the fact that we are attracting a higher price point means a higher base level commission, and that again ties into the Free at Sea. It's a win-win-win. We're including a vacation with way more value for your clients, and we're making sure to pay you on everything that's included. And that again is in the spirit of our joint partnership. Now, going to get into some of my favorite things to talk about, and that's some of these sailings, because as I mentioned to you before, customers, their tastes are changing in terms of the itineraries that they're looking for. So they are looking for longer, more in-depth, and we've changed up our itineraries to try to accommodate that. So in terms of, as I mentioned, almost 400 destinations throughout the world, we've got over 170 unique itineraries to choose from. So just in Europe alone, we've got 118 ports of call. So that's through Northern Europe, the Med, and Greek Isle. Many of these itineraries actually have no sea days. And again, this is such an important thing to understand. And when you're talking about itineraries with your clients, the fact that when they're going on a 12-day cruise and they're seeing 11 different ports, that's an incredible experience. They see it as great value for their money. They're actually seeing more of the destination when they're there. And the other thing is we've got 15 different departure ports. And one of the things, and some of the itineraries that I'm highlighting here really talk to this, because one of the things that we're doing a little bit differently is we're doing a lot more open jaw itineraries. And the advantage of an open jaw itinerary is you're not turning back to go back to the same port that you started from. And so you can do a much more port-intensive itinerary in the same period of time. So now let me talk to you about the first itinerary that really grabbed my eye. And this is the Norwegian Gem. One of my favorite ships, the Gem, the Pearl. They are two of our smaller ships at about 2,000 passengers. I sailed on her last summer, absolutely thrilled with the ship. It was fantastic. So take a look at this 10-day itinerary. So this one, just as an example, so this one is sailing October 12th. And again, I'm giving you these as just as examples to get you inspired to take a look at the rest of our itineraries. You might want to make sure that you check out, we've got the handout section in this webinar. So we've got a number of different things that you want to download while you're here. So we do have our European destination guide. Again, this will give you even more itineraries. We've got our fleet calendar talking about where our ships are when. We've got a number of sort of highlights about talking about Europe, and then a recap of the Free at Sea program. So again, at some point in time, make sure that you download these. So again, this itinerary, this one really inspired me because again, it really shows the variety of the destinations. So this is an open jaw sailing from Istanbul through to Venice. We're actually calling it Trieste these days, which I did myself. It was a fantastic experience. So we're calling on 5 of the most sought after Greek ports, plus stops in Croatia, a gorgeous country to cruise into, Italy and Turkey. The guests are going to wake up in a new port every single day. So going out of Istanbul, we actually call in Kusadasi, which of course is the home, the gateway to Ephesus. So one of the most preserved ancient cities of the world. Of course, this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, built in 10 BC. So they built in 10 BC, the ancient library, the theater and terrace makes out some of the most impressive outdoor museums in the world. And then of course, Santorini. Now, really important, and we don't have the exact times here. When we go to Santorini, we try to stay in Santorini as late as we can because Santorini has one of the most gorgeous sunsets in the entire world. So most times we're leaving out of Santorini at about 10 p.m. to allow your clients the opportunity to see that. And of course, Santorini is famous for the blue domed churches. The journey up the hill is quite incredible. I will admit, when I was in Santorini last summer, we did the tram on the way up and walked on the way down. We were not going to go the other way around. But once you're on top and you're at the top of the city looking out, is absolutely gorgeous. To be able to look down at the bay and see the cruise ships that are these little tiny floating specks because you're up so high, it really is an unbelievable experience. You can understand why people really talk about Santorini as being the highlight of their Greek Isle cruise. Now, going up to Corfu, by the way, phenomenal shopping there. Olympia is outstanding. Where I really wanted to highlight Dubrovnik. So Dubrovnik in Croatia is the coolest town. So this is a really, really well-preserved medieval city. And of course, for any of you who watch the series, is where they filmed a lot of Game of Thrones. So this is actually the main setting for King's Landing. And you can actually, we offer this on from the ship, you can actually do a Game of Thrones tour, which is not as geeky as you might think, because it's actually just a really cool way of doing a walking tour of the city. You see everything in terms of the city and the highlights and the buildings, but they also frame it from the perspective of, oh, okay, well, this scene was filmed here and this scene was filmed there, and you can actually see the Cersei's Walk of Shame where they filmed that. It's a really, really neat cool tour to do. So again, love this itinerary. Another great one, this is sailing immediately after on October 22nd. This one is kind of cool. So it's doing a lot of the same places that I mentioned, but with some key differences. One, for example, is Venice. So you get on the ship, or your clients get on the ship in Trieste. So Trieste is about an hour and a half-ish from the Venice airport. It is a really neat city in and of itself. So what works really well is somebody could actually go in early, stay in Trieste, get on the ship, and then the first port of call is actually Venice itself. So this is a really neat place to actually do it as a tour. From there, we're going to Kotor, Montenegro, really gorgeous cruising in through the oceans. And then, of course, going to some of the other places that I talked about that we did on the previous cruise. Really, really, really great itinerary. Now, what's our newest ship doing? This particular itinerary, I think, is just outstanding. So this is a 12-day. Now, again, a 12-day on our currently our newest ship. So this one sails on October the 1st. The neat thing is here is you've got relatively easy access for flights. So you're flying into Southampton, but from Southampton, you've got this phenomenal Atlantic coast cruise. So we're going actually into Le Havre, where you can actually take the train into Paris or spend time around the Le Havre area. Itself is just gorgeous. Bordeaux, of course, the food and the wine tours that are available there are just outstanding. La Corona, Oporto, this is a really neat city at the mouth of the Douro River, where you can actually go in and see and do some really great port tours. Again, the port itself, this is part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Huge history, architectural buildings are just outstanding. And then all these other places that you're seeing. Lisbon is an amazing city to cruise into. And one of the things that I love about Lisbon is you actually dock pretty much right downtown. You can walk right off the ship and start seeing the city. And then Seville, Valencia, Ibiza, ending in Barcelona. This is just an outstanding itinerary. And again, this is on a brand new ship. Another great one. This is somewhat similar, some of the similar ports. This one, what's really nice is this is round trip London or Southampton. So really super easy in terms of flights. So from London going again to Bordeaux, think of the wine, Paris, and then also a little bit where it gets different is where we're actually going into Brussels, Amsterdam, and Hamburg. So there's a ton. I mean, Amsterdam is just such a neat city. It's known as Venice of the North. It's great. You can rent bicycles there. You can do a Go Local tour. This is a really neat shore excursion that really sort of highlights the local experiences. You can actually do a neat insider access tour in Edam. So you're visiting a local family, touring a cheese making facility. Again, really cool things to do here. And then what's really neat about the stop in Hamburg is it's an overnight. So guests can actually take an excursion to Berlin. Again, really, we're trying to design the itinerary that gives the maximum experience for our guests. So imagine for your guests being able to stop in Hamburg, take a tour in, and actually see the remnants of the Berlin Wall. Really great experience. And of course, Bruges, Belgium is just outstanding as well. And then finally, the last itinerary that I wanted to highlight, again, as you can tell, I kind of like this part of the world. So this is an 11-day, again, in and out of Southampton, very similar in terms of the Hamburg, Amsterdam, Paris, and Bordeaux, but this one actually goes down to Bilbao. And that is a great city. So that there's beautiful options available, including, as you know, with Free at Sea, we offer a free shore excursion. It's a $50 credit. We've actually got a $49 Best of Bilbao city tour. So it essentially ends up free for the guest. Anyway, so really great options. And these are just a handful. Make sure, again, you download the handout on the side so you can see everything. Now, in terms of our latest updates. So first off, I mentioned before, long as you signed up prior to the January 7th deadline, we are paying commission on NCFs. This is a big deal. This is a lot of money that we're paying additionally. Another thing that we launched in the last few months is our military benefits program. Please go online to norwegiancentral.com and download the information on our military benefits. The program is outstanding. Not only does the client receive an upfront discount, but as well, there's a number of different things that we're doing on board to recognize their service. So again, norwegiancentral.com. We've also launched our picks of the month. Now, this is an interesting new concept for us. And this basically, if you've got a client who's particularly looking for a great deal, go to our picks of the month. While they're not $199, again, I mentioned this before, we don't want to do $199. These are the sailings that are showing as a particularly good value, and it's for all destinations all around the world. So again, you can see that on ncl.com, and you can see what our picks of the month are. In terms of other resources that are available for you, as I mentioned, Norwegian Central. Norwegian Central is the place that you should go first for pretty much everything. This is everything related to selling Norwegian. So just some of the things that I want to highlight here, NCLU as an example. The fact you're here today is a fantastic commitment to improving your knowledge of Norwegian, but there's way more. So if you go to NCLU, and I'll talk to you about it in a second, we've got dozens and dozens and dozens of classes that you can do. So not only are the basics of selling Norwegian, but also some very specific ones. You can earn badges, and the more you progress in NCLU, the higher a discount you get when you choose to sail yourself. The other thing that I want to highlight here in particular is the how to book, and it's circled there. If you want to know how to book online, go to this link. It shows you everything to do with our booking engine. Our booking engine is phenomenal and powerful, but it really helps if you do this tutorial to walk you through some of those features, because there's a ton of things that you can do in there without having to call us. You can do this 24/7. And then finally, NCL help. I'll tell you, I constantly have NCL help open on my screen. NCL help is the Google of everything Norwegian. Any question you might have, I guarantee you're going to find it in NCL help. So before anything else, before having to pick up the phone to call and ask, go to NCL help and just type in a keyword. I tell you, 9 times out of 10, you're going to find exactly what you're looking for. Now, talking about NCLU, I mentioned some of the highlighted European destinations today, but make sure you go in. There is a brand new or relatively new module called the Europe Destination. So this will tell you about why Norwegian Cruise Line has been the World Travel Award winner for Europe's leading cruise line for the last 14 years. That's how seriously we take Europe and our itineraries. There is a great quick guide, by the way, available in our learning resources. Now, I mentioned as well the how to book Norwegian. This is the module, this is the section here. There's actually 20 different modules in total, but you can do everything from how do you just simply create a quote, how do you send a confirmation, how do you pay the balance of the cruise, literally anything that you can think of as it relates to making a reservation or add-ons to a reservation or air or payment, etc., is all within here. So for any of you who want to get up to speed on how to do all of this online, please go and click on that how to book under Norwegian Central. Huge amount of resources. Now, talking about resources, let me discuss a little bit about marketing headquarters. So marketing headquarters, again, in Norwegian Central, this is everything related to how to market, how to sell, and how to grow your business. It's very user-friendly. What I really like about it is not only do we have ready-to-go assets, so things like banners and Facebook posts and all of this type of stuff, but we've got a lot of customizable items too. So for example, let's say that you decide that you want to lead a group on that round trip Southampton cruise that I talked about. You can actually go in here and via just a few clicks, you can design a custom flyer that you can send to all of your clients that talks just about this one cruise with your lead-in pricing. Huge asset for you guys. And then the other thing to talk about is the Sales Pal. Sales Pal is, once you really get into selling Norwegian, this is a great tool, especially as it relates to groups. If you want to see our lead-in pricing for all of our destinations, for all of our sailings, all the way through to 2025, go in and download the Sales Pal. Where I find it's really useful is, let's say, for example, you've decided you're going to escort an Alaska cruise in 2024, but you're open in terms of the ship, the timing, etc. Download the Sales Pal and you can quickly scan to see, okay, where is the best deal? What's the timing? What works in terms of holiday schedules or vacations, etc., and what that lead-in price is. It's a great tool. It also talks about our single supplement, if we've got a reduced single supplement, and tells you exactly the group space availability. Again, marketing headquarters, tons of stuff. So this is the Sales Pal that I was just talking about. Fairly easy to navigate. It's just a simple Excel spreadsheet. It tells you the group availability, whether we've got availability in spec or in affinity. Tells you whether it's fairly easy. Obviously, you're going to look for the green. Those are the ones where there's lots of space and you can take groups up to 99 cabins. So again, really, really, really great. And one of the last things I want to mention in Norwegian Central, and this is a fairly new addition, is our Cruise First program. I hope that you're all familiar with Cruise First because it basically gives your clients a $150 discount. Essentially, you purchase a $300 Cruise First certificate, but it only costs $150. It's available for new reservations only, so make sure that you go in and you read the terms and conditions. And very occasionally, we will do a special flash Cruise First where you get a $500 certificate for only $250. So make sure that you are signed up for our Partners First emails. Make sure that you're connected with us, Partners First on Facebook, because when we do have one of those limited offers, we will always talk about it there. And again, it gives you the ability of offering a great additional discount to your clients. In terms of our current promotions, so our current promotion right now is live from March 1st through to will be live on March 1st through to the 13th. The promotional toolkit with a bunch of stuff, including flyers, etc., is available now on Marketing Headquarters. We have an upcoming flash style sale on March 14th to the 16th. You'll see the details, perhaps on Facebook Partners First. And of course, don't forget about our free airfare on the second guest. In particular, right now, Europe is really, really expensive in terms of air. So our air program is a really great deal. So the last thing I want to leave you with before we open it up to questions is to give you a little bit of a challenge. So I want you to put all the things that we talked about today, all of your learning to work. So first off, promote a Norwegian cruise to Europe this fall or next year. Go into Marketing Headquarters, download the Sales Pal, pick a date, create some flyers, send it out to your clients. You may or may not know, but you can hold an affinity space for 60 days with absolutely no deposit. You have a full 2 months that you can go and promote that, and you don't need to put anything down. So hold that affinity space. Choose a destination that gets you excited. Find one that really inspires you, one that you want to do, because quite frankly, when there's a cruise that you want to do, you're able to talk about it with your clients with much more passion and enthusiasm. And then finally, go in and purchase a Cruise First certificate for your next booking. You can purchase that now for whenever that next booking is. So again, if you go into Norwegian Central, look into the book column and you'll see the Cruise First section available for you. And that is it in terms of what I had to talk to you about today. So Dean, do we have any questions that we want to talk through since we've got everybody still on the line?
Derek, that was great. You all did a great job, and your team of Michelle, they have been doing and Amanda have been doing a great job answering all these questions. So Amanda and Michelle have been doing a great job. I was looking at all these. One of the big things that comes up, Derek, is multi-generational travel.
Yeah.
And like you said at the beginning of the webinar, that people are coming back to travel. Are you finding that folks who travel with maybe 3 generations, grandparents, parents, and kids, do you recommend like the parents can leave the kids with the grandparents and go for like 1 week, and then the kids can go for the second week with the grandparents? What are some tips that you could leave our agents with regarding multi-generational travel, and what you would recommend?
Well, it's certainly one of the nice things with our newer classes of ships, because as I mentioned, we've gone everything from the solo studio staterooms all the way up to the Haven. So what we see it happen a lot is actually the entire family will go as a group. And so maybe the grandparents will take a suite in the Haven. Maybe the parents will take a regular balcony and have the teenage kids in the hallway across from them. And so, and then maybe the aunt who's traveling by herself can take one of the solo staterooms. The nice thing is with that is everybody has the ability of going off and doing their own thing, but then they can regroup when they want to do family time. So maybe they'll do dinner together as a group in Cagney's, but grandma and grandpa can sort of sit up in the Haven pool area during the day while the kids go and go to the racetrack, or kids can go on the racetrack, grandparents can watch, but then they have that private enclave that they can go back to. So again, any of the Breakaway Plus classes of ships are great for that. The Bliss, the Encore, the Joy, or of course the Prima class are really, really good for those multi-gen groups.
That's excellent. You're talking about the future. We have a ship coming out this year.
Yes.
One of the questions that came up that I thought was kind of interesting is, you know, with some of the adult-only cruising that's coming, you know, into the industry, does Norwegian have any plans for going something like that in the future?
So the next ship that we've got coming out is the Viva. Viva is basically the exact same in terms of the facilities, the offerings, the restaurants, etc. as the Prima. Many people may know that the Spirit went through a major refurbishment in 2020 as well as again in 2022, and that ship is more geared towards an adult audience because there is no kids program on board. One of the things that we do like is when we've got the larger ships is we've got different areas for different people. And so there's an advantage, even if you're not traveling with kids, if you're on a ship where you've got great kids facilities because the kids are occupied. And again, allows for the entire family to travel together.
Excellent. One of the newer questions that comes up for some of our new travel agents is excursions. What's your recommendation as far as booking excursions before the cruise, during the cruise? And, you know, give me some advice from you, Derek.
Sure. So I would say to a degree, it depends. And this is you know what travel partners should be advising to the clients. If they're going to a once in a lifetime destination, they're going to the Mediterranean, they're doing, for example, that cruise that I mentioned from Istanbul to Trieste. If there is a particular shore tour that their trip would be ruined if they didn't book it ahead of time, book it ahead of time. If going and doing a tour of Ephesus is the highlight of their trip, then you absolutely want to book it ahead of time. If there is a sailing excursion in Santorini that, you know, it would be a big deal, book that ahead of time, absolutely. Now, maybe if you're in the Caribbean and people are like, oh, we just want to hit the beach and we don't, you know, it's not, there is one destination that they have to go to. Maybe in that case, you know, they could leave it a little, but there's not really a downside to booking it ahead of time. Shore excursions are refundable. To have the peace of mind of knowing that the specific thing that they were going to this port that they're going to be doing, it's not a bad idea to book it further in advance.
Excellent. And I know with your background as a BDM, what is some tips that you would give as far as travel advisors working with BDMs with Norwegian Cruise Line? How can they reach out to them, create a relationship? Can you give us a little bit of pointers in that area?
Sure. The biggest thing is raise your hand. You know, as much as I would, we've got, by the way, a phenomenal sales team. We've got people all across North America located in local areas specifically to work with all of our travel partners. But there are thousands and thousands and thousands of you out there. So what's really beneficial, if you raise your hand, if you reach out to your sales manager and say, hey, listen, I really want to develop my Norwegian business. I want to do a group. I want to escort this group. I want some money to do marketing. We can do that. But just, again, raise your hand. If you go to Norwegian Central, there is a sales contact page. So you can actually see who your sales manager is, or there is a link on there if it's not entirely clear that you can email to ask. But again, just come forward. We absolutely love to see an enthusiastic new seller of travel who really wants to focus. And that's one thing, is you cannot be these days a jack of all trades. You need to decide your few suppliers that you want to work with. And if you come to us and tell us that Norwegian is going to be that, you know, we're going to be your primary supplier, your primary cruise line in the upper contemporary space, we'll absolutely want to work with you.
Perfect. Derek, thank you so much. This has been really, really helpful. I see that there are some individual questions, and if we did not get to your question today with one of Derek's staff members, we will be sending all of these questions to Derek and his team, so they will have your name, your email, and the question that you asked, and someone will be getting back to you as soon as possible. And again, as a reminder, this is being recorded and will be on the YouTube CLIA Global site. And with that, Derek, is there anything you want to leave us with?
I just want to leave it with, you guys are the absolute lifeblood of the industry. You are talking to your customers, to your friends, to your family, to people in your community every single day. We need you to explain the benefits of Norwegian, the benefits of cruising, why people who have maybe done the same all-inclusive year after year after year want to try cruise for that first time. And so we absolutely appreciate everything that you do. We thank you for every single client you send our way. We want to work with you, and we want you to be successful. So anything we can do, please reach out to us.
Perfect. Derek, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for attending today. We look forward to seeing you out on the sea. Have a great day. Bye-bye.